All right, I want to welcome everyone to our live Saturday morning presentation. Everyone should be able to see my screen, and you should see the headline to it, which is Key Skill, Using Stories to Create Interest. And then you'll notice the picture has storytelling is the best marketing. And one of the things I want to do today is I want to give you an overview of how to be able to use storytelling as a way to be able to create connections with people that you're talking to. And we're going to actually use a specific example. David Munoz has done a great job writing 4 scripts for 4 videos that he wants to use on helping to share the nitric oxide therapy story. And David did most of the work. I had a few suggestions for him. We're going to use that as an example of what it's like to try and develop your storytelling techniques to be able to make connections with people that you're talking to, and in those connections develop a personal relationship, and a relationship that builds trust, and a relationship that ends up ultimately helping that person, especially if they have the issue that you're talking about, wanting to understand more about how they could use, in this case, nitric oxide therapy to address their problems. So as I go down through this, I've been in this business for a long time, and I would hear this phrase called facts tell, but stories sell. And for a long time in my professional career, I was a fact teller, not a storyteller. And it took me a long time to learn how you can use stories to share facts that make a much more impactful presentation than just spouting facts. And like I said, it took me a long time. When I decided to rebrand myself through videos, I took a course. It was one of the best courses I've ever spent money on. And that course began to teach me this aspect of how to share stories through videos to help me make an impact. And what I like to call this is learning how to share a narrative. To me, a narrative is just a storytelling technique. But in a narrative, the narrative is your voice. It has what we call authenticity to it, but it's not trying to do the story with regards to English lit class. This is telling people in your phraseology, in common things that they can understand, on how to be able to make an impact through your narrative. And there's a lot of articles. Like if you do a Google search, you're going to find a ton of different articles in regards to this storytelling to sell. And I found this one article that I've got a link here. This is a PDF that I'm showing you. I'll make this PDF available to you on Tuesday when this newsletter goes out with today's recording of today's presentation. But the article is titled How You Can Use Storytelling to Sell. And I don't want to read everything here. So I've highlighted some things in yellow because I really want to get to what I call the main event. And the main event is I like to share a story with you of how I worked with David Munoz to take his story and help him make that story what I feel would be more impactful. Not because I have this, but I firmly believe that when you collaborate with other people, out of that collaboration can come something that's much more powerful. So anyways, how can you use storytelling to sell? And you'll notice the first thing that I highlighted in yellow, it works because people love hearing about characters who face and overcome challenges. Our world is built on that. If you look at stories that really resonate with people in fiction or even in nonfiction, it's people who have overcome obstacles and have made something of themselves. And you can see yourself in that person, as they may be a character in a fictional story, or they may be a real life individual. And their story causes a change in you or a desire in you to want to be able to do something like that. And then down here, telling your story and the stories of others humanizes your selling and makes connections with prospects more meaningful and productive. Again, we talked about this in the past. People talk about, well, I just want to share the synergy products. No, we want to share the synergy products so that we can actually have people buy the synergy products. We are in the selling business. And I know we're in the called sharing, but sharing is just what I would call a term that we use to try and keep us from understanding what we're really trying to do. And what we're really trying to do is we're really trying to get people to use the synergy products so that they can make so that those products can make an impact in that person's life, like they've made an impact in our lives. So whether you want to use sharing or whether you want to understand that you're really selling, we want to use this process of storytelling to make connections with prospects more meaningful and productive, meaning that they're going to buy. That said, for some, telling a good story comes naturally. For others, storytelling might feel as abstract as it did in middle school English class. That was me, all right? I was a fact teller, not a storyteller. I had to learn how to tell a story. And once I learned how to do that, I got better and better at telling a narrative. Even when that narrative had facts in it, I knew how to begin to weave those facts into a story that would make an impact on the person who was listening. So the author of this article has 5 tips for putting storytelling punch into your sales strategy. And I want to go through the 5 tips, and then we want to actually go into what I believe is the meat of today's presentation. Work that David Munoz has done, and you'll see that David has incorporated these 5 tips. Whether he knows it or not, he's incorporated these 5 tips into his video series on nitric oxide therapy. So here's the first tip. Get your storytelling basics down. Most stories have a clear introduction, middle, and conclusion. You're going to see that when we look at David's scripts. You're going to see that he has a clear introduction, a middle, and he has a conclusion, a call to action. So again, you got to understand the basic storytelling aspect here. The second tip is determine the takeaway. Knowing your end game will make building out a framework for the story easier. So again, what is the takeaway that you want to have that person? If it's just education, well, that would be a different call to action than if you want that person actually buy the product. Buying the product is a different call to action. So know what your end game is, because then that helps you understand how to determine the takeaway. The takeaway that's going to be at the end of that story to have that person make some decision in their life on an action that you want them to take. Number 3, get your prospects' attention and hold it. Stories must be captivating and informative. We'll see this in the first video script that David did, and we'll talk about that. It'll become clearer as we get into his script, but this was really key, what at least I felt when David presented this information to me and what he wanted to do in terms of location. To me, this was the key aspect of helping David understand how to take that location and combine it with his story to make a huge impact that would cause people to want to stay in his video and listen to what he has to share. So again, stories must be captivating and informative. You've got to get that prospect's attention. 3, personalize your sales story. This is probably the most critical part of storytelling. Prior to starting today's presentation, I had a conversation with Donald Clark. Donald, we'll have some time at the end of today's presentation to help you understand how you can take something that has happened to you personally in your life and use that in something that you want to get yourself involved in. We'll make that a little bit clearer to people at the end of today's presentation. And then number 5, practice your story out loud. I've talked about this over and over and over. Every time I write a video script, I read it out loud. Whether you're sending an email or doing a cold call, you must read your story out loud. When you read it out loud, you will find whether you repeat phrases, repeat words, you will understand whether it sounds natural to you. If it doesn't sound like you're having a conversation with that individual, then you need to re-script your story to the point where it's a conversation, what I call a narrative. You're having a narrative, a conversation with an individual. It's in your phraseology. It's in words that are understandable. It's in things that people can easily understand and relate to. So you've got to speak it out loud, because if you talk it mentally, you won't hear it. You've got to speak out loud, and that will then determine what you need to do to massage that narrative, that story, so that it will connect with people. Now, with that said, those 5 tips, what I want to do is I want to get into the heart of today's presentation. David, you're online. If you want to unmute yourself and be able to put any input on your part to what I'm going to share with people, please feel free to do that. So I've got an example, David Munoz and his nitric oxide therapy video set. David wanted to do 4 videos on how to present nitric oxide therapy effectively to people through social media, through his YouTube channel, and through other avenues that he might want to use, like the bomb marketing that he shared with us in the past. And so David presented to me a series of videos. I should say, his script for these videos. And one of the things that he talked about initially is that he wanted to start video number 1 outside of an emergency room. And so I thought, okay, so as David was sharing with me, what he had is he didn't have this introduction here. He started out with regards to nitric oxide therapy. And one of the things that I wanted him to understand is that he has a story that, because of his idea of wanting to start this in front of a hospital, tell your story. And so this is what came out of it. Here's the scripting. You might be wondering why I'm standing outside an ER. 10 years ago, I was concerned. That doesn't mean that I've been standing here for 10 years. But 10 years ago, my doctor told me that I was pre-diabetic. Since both my parents had diabetes and my mom had died from diabetic complications, I thought there was no way out for me. No matter how much I watched my diet, it was only a matter of time before I got diabetes and would end up here at the hospital. But then I heard about nitric oxide therapy, a natural way to address pre-diabetic concerns, as well as repair and reverse damage to my cardiovascular health. It opened my eyes and changed my life. In tomorrow's short video, I will share how nitric oxide therapy works and why everyone should know about it. Oh, and one other thing, this is not pseudoscience, but Nobel Prize winning information that everyone needs to know about. So that's his short first video. And he did a marvelous job with most of his scripting. All I did is helped him to see that he has a story that he can share that would give him more connection to the people he's talking to, and make the reason why he's standing outside of an ER emergency room an effective location, because of the story that he has to share, and how his parents both suffer from diabetic complications, and how he was on the same road, and how he would end up at the hospital if he didn't find something to change his life. And that was the nitric oxide therapy. So
if I may, Dan?
Yes, go ahead, David.
Yes, so you're absolutely right, Dan. What I was trying to do is relay my story. And the reason I chose the emergency room was specifically that, because as opposed to being in a studio or recording more formally, when you do it in an environment where people can relate to, maybe they'll flash back to experiences they had with the loved one, they can understand how busy It can be in the emergency room. They see cars going back and forth. So they know it's a natural type of environment where they can relate to. And based upon that natural type of environment, what I'm trying to do is project to the emotion of the individual that, especially if they're in our generation, my age group, which is where cardiovascular diseases typically start, that I almost went through something that they may or may not know someone that was going through. And that's where I started all. I started by telling my story, engaging, hopefully with the visuals, with a real live environment, what I went through, sharing my stories, and then taking them in the path, as you say, through the 5 steps, so that it's almost like a journey I'm going to take them through with short, hopefully captivating videos that I can engage with, and they'll follow it through the whole sequence. So.
Yes, excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
And so we've got David's first video to create the desire for people, especially if they're diabetic or they have family members who have diabetes or they're pre-diabetic. And unfortunate reality of America today is about 1/3 of the population is diabetic, and it continues to grow. And that 1/3 of the population are people who have diabetes, plus all the people who are in a pre-diabetic condition. So if you don't have diabetes, you most likely have someone in your family that does, or you have a friend and neighbor that has it. And so the information that David's sharing really can be impactful, especially if people are looking for a way so that they don't end up at the hospital like David's in front of, and a story where David shares how his mom died from diabetic complications and how he was headed down the same pathway and again would end up at the hospital. And he plants the seed. Then I heard about nitric oxide therapy, a natural way to address pre-diabetic conditions, as well as repair and reverse damage to my cardiovascular health. It opened my eyes and changed my life. That's a powerful statement. And then he tells people what's going to happen. Tomorrow's a short video, but he does something that's really important. He lets people know that this is not pseudoscience. I mean, we live in the age now of fact checkers who, again, are, if it doesn't fit their narrative, then they fact check you out of existence. Again, this is Nobel Prize winning information. So this is information that, again, is not just something that he's, someone shared with him or something he's making out of thin air. This is really life-changing information that won a Nobel Prize. So going on to video 2, again, you'll see location library. David's going to use a green screen to be able to put stuff behind him, but this is his script. In this video, I want to share the science of nitric oxide therapy and why I think everyone should know about it. Cardiovascular disease has been the #1 killer of men and women in our generation. According to the CDC, 1 out of every 3 people in the US will die as a result of cardiovascular complications like diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. For years, scientists would treat cardiovascular disease with changes in diet or medications. For many, this was either difficult or inconvenient because they had to change their life habits, and it only treated the symptoms of their condition, but not the cause. In 1998, everything changed. 3 American scientists were awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine for the discovery of nitric oxide. In our bodies, nitric oxide serves as a signaling agent, which helps prevent plaque formation and improves the health of veins and arteries. Why is this important to me, David Munoz, who was pre-diabetic 10 years ago? Because pre-diabetes increases the chances of suffering from cardiovascular complications like heart disease, high blood pressure, and for guys, erectile dysfunction. In tomorrow's video, I'll share with you how I implemented a daily nitric oxide routine that takes me just 2 minutes a day and has reversed my pre-diabetic condition, as well as helped me grow old young. So again, what David has done is he's done a great narrative in be able to share facts, but do it in a narrative or storytelling way. Again, David starts out as a continuation of his first video, in that he wants to share the science of nitric oxide therapy, but instead of getting into what I call the scientific lingo, he gets into words that people can understand. And he wants people to understand why he thinks everyone should know. So he sets it up in a narrative talking about cardiovascular disease and using the CDC to bring validation to the information that he's sharing. Then he talks about what most people have been their common experience: diet and medication. And he talks about the difficulty, the pain that people experience with that, either the inconvenience or the changes in their life habits that most people don't want to make, that it only treats symptoms but not the underlying cause. And then he throws in 1998, everything changed. He uses the 1998 as a pivotal point. And then he again brings validity to the nitric oxide through the Nobel Prize in Medicine, gives people an understanding of what nitric oxide does, and he uses signaling agent instead of signaling molecule, because most people understand an agent more than they'll understand the aspect of a molecule, and doesn't talk about everything that nitric oxide can do, but keeps it focused on the cardiovascular system, plaque formation, which if you're diabetic, most diabetics understand, and improvement in the health of veins and arteries. Why is this important to me? He now makes it, again, personalized, refreshing people that he was a pre-diabetic 10 years ago, and that pre-diabetes increases his chances, just like if you're pre-diabetic and listening to his video increases your chances for suffering cardiovascular complications. And then he sets up what his next video is going to be, how he implemented a daily nitric oxide routine that takes him just 2 minutes a day, and has reversed his pre-diabetic conditions, as well as he now introduces a phrase that he wants to begin to market, which is help me grow old young. So who's David's audience? It's other people who are older and don't want to grow older, but they want to grow old young. So again, he's introducing a marketing phrase that's going to help him continue to build off of that in other things that he's going to do with other videos, whether it be in nitric oxide therapy or whether it be for weight management or other things that Synergy Worldwide has. He's now building this marketing phrase into his video to help him harness that in other videos that he's going to do. So that phrase becomes a common thing that's going to be associated with David Munoz. Hey, David knows how to help people grow old young. Anything you want to add, David, before we go on to your next video?
Only that this script in general, Dan, took 3 weeks to put together. As you know, we met three different times every week. We just meet to talk about things, and we focused on the script. And so it was refined a little bit, which emphasizes the importance of having a partner and someone to keep you accountable, but more a partner that will help you refine things. And you did a great job in helping me fix a lot of the grammar and make it more relatable. And the other thing I wanted to say, Dan, is we discussed at length, my ideas about the environment in which I was shooting every video. The first one at the hospital, the second one in the library, and of course we'll go on the subsequent two more videos to show how important it is for me, at least, the impact of being relatable. And being relatable is putting the person or the viewer in a place where they've been or where they can relate to. So it's a storytelling, as you say, and the story continues. So thank you, Dan.
Well, you're welcome, David. And again, David brought up an important thing. David wrote the bulk of the script. All I did is, as we read it, we want to make sure that the narrative that as it's spoken flows. And so again, there's words that we changed, there's way that we rearranged it. So, and that was a collaborative process. And that's why if you work with someone else, they can hear you maybe in a way that you can't hear yourself. And it just helps to make a better product. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to tell a story and tell the story the best way that we can so that we can have an impact on the people who are hearing the story so that they're going to want to take an action, especially if that story relates to them or that story relates to a family member that is going through that same issue. Now, video 3 is in David's kitchen. Again, location's important for this video because he wants to show people how easy this is to do on a daily basis. So here we go with the script. In yesterday's video, I shared how in 1998, 3 American scientists were awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine for their discovery of how the nitric oxide molecule works to improve cardiovascular health. Unfortunately, most people have never heard of this information. And because of this, they have no idea how they can naturally address their cardiovascular issues. In today's video, I want to share with you how I'm using the science of nitric oxide therapy to reverse my diabetic condition. And it only takes me 2 minutes a day. These Nobel Prize winning scientists discovered how the common amino acid L-arginine is used by our body to create nitric oxide. You can find this supplement in powder form. All I do is mix it in 8 ounces of water and drink it every day. It takes about 2 minutes. It's that easy. Within days of starting my 2-minute discipline, I felt the difference in improved energy, better sleep, and sharper mental clarity. And people around me started to notice the difference in my overall appearance. After 90 days, I visited my doctor and my glucose levels had improved. Within 120 days, I was no longer in a pre-diabetic stage. That was 10 years ago. I can honestly say that I feel better now than I did then. I have more energy, better focus, and I take no medications. Hey, are you ready to grow old young too? Well, before you go out and find your nitric oxide supplement, just know that there are over 200 in the marketplace. So which one should you use? In tomorrow's final video, I'll share with you what I believe is the best nitric oxide supplement for your 2-minute daily discipline and how you can get started on the road to better health. Now, I want to come back up here and tell you some of the things that Dave and I talked through. When it came to showing the powder and David actually doing this, my suggestion to him was that he does not show pro-arginine, doesn't show the packet, doesn't show the box or the canister, the jumbo jar. Make sure that there's nothing in this video that shows the pro-arginine. And the reason for that is because he's sharing some things that could get him into trouble with Synergy Worldwide and with the FTC or the FTC with regards to the kind of information that you're sharing. So I suggested to David that if he just focuses on nitric oxide therapy and the science of nitric oxide therapy and just show a powder that he's mixing so he can show the simplicity of his 2-minute discipline, then he can share some things that he can do because it's all nitric oxide therapy based and he won't get into trouble with anyone because of that. So again, David does a great job of, again, utilizing information they shared in the previous video, just retelling the story to, again, validate the information because this is Nobel Prize information, sets up that most people have never heard this information, so they have no idea how they can naturally address their cardiovascular issues. And this is the statement that he would most likely get himself into trouble with if he showed pro-arginine. But if he only shows a powder with no identification to it, he can make this statement here. I'm using the science of nitric oxide therapy to reverse my diabetic condition. So he's making basically a medical claim here, but he's making that medical claim in relationship to nitric oxide therapy, not ProArginine Plus. And because of that, he'll most likely not get himself into any kind of trouble, because there's plenty of research out there that shows how nitric oxide can reverse diabetic conditions. Nobel Prize winning science discovered amino acid L-arginine. He doesn't talk about any other ingredients, the other 5 ingredients that are important to optimizing that. He just focuses on one ingredient that is a supplement in powder form, and he shows how he does it, mixes it in 8 ounces of water, and drink it every day. It takes about 2 minutes. It's that easy. He now has this 2-minute discipline, another marketing strategy of helping people to see, hey, are you willing to take 2 minutes out of your day to, again, improve your energy, get better sleep, sharper mental clarity? People around him noticed. Then he begins to give his results. 90 days, glucose level had improved. Within 120 days, he was no longer pre-diabetic. One of the things that David's going to do is try and find his blood work so he can actually show that on the screen so people can see the improvement in his blood work. And that was 10 years ago. And I can honestly say that I feel better now than I did then. I have more energy, better focus. I take no medications. Hey, are you ready to grow old young too? Well, before you go out, and so, most people would say, yeah, let me go out and get that. And what David does is he brilliantly sets people up not to take action yet, because he lets them know that if they do go out there, they're going to find over 200 different products in the marketplace. So the question becomes, and again, understand the purpose of a question. The purpose of a question is to cause the person's mind to seek an answer. And the person's mind will continue to seek that answer until it gets answered. So he sets up a question to make a reason why people want to watch his final video. So which one should you use? In tomorrow's final video, I'll share with you what I believe is the best nitric oxide supplement for your 2-minute daily discipline and how you can get started on the road to better health. David, anything you want to share before we go into this last script?
Well, in this video in the kitchen, Dan, which I just wanted to try to create a trigger. Every video has a little trigger, and this one I want to trigger them to think, well, look how simple it is. He's pouring a powder into a glass of water, it could be, or into a bottle of water, and he'll shake it and drink it. And he says as simple as 2 minutes a day. Well, I can do that. That's why I wanted the environment to be in the kitchen. I mean, in the kitchen or in the house, and show them how to mix it and how easy it is. And what I've done it, what I've been doing it. And again, the original video, you say 10 years ago. So that means I've been doing it just about 10 years, and how I look and how I feel and what I'm doing. So again, the trigger is to get them to feel, well, I could do the same, or I could get my mom or my dad or my grandfather to do the same. And they can be in a place where David is now, which is growing old young. So I emphasize that, the 2-minute discipline, just planting seeds into their minds so that they can relate to it as best they can, if I can, strike an emotional chord and get them excited about the possibility of growing old young also.
Great. Thank you, David. So let's go on to the 4th video. At the gym, I'm going to come back to this. So the script for the 4th video is this. Welcome back. This is the final video in my short series about nitric oxide therapy and how I use the 2-minute daily discipline to improve my cardiovascular health. I want to share with you how to take the first steps in transforming your life as you grow old young. But I also want to confess that I was very skeptical at first about any natural product. So even before I started, I asked 3 very important questions that, if answered to my satisfaction, I would give it a try. Question number 1, is this product recognized by the medical community? I discovered a nitric oxide supplement that had been listed in the physician's desk reference for 6 consecutive years as, quote, the highest quality L-arginine supplement in the world, end of quote. That product is called Pro-Arginine Plus from Synergy Worldwide. Question number 2, how is the product made and who makes it? Pro-Arginine Plus is manufactured here in the United States by NSP and distributed by Synergy Worldwide. Both companies have received US and international awards for both their quality controls and commitment to excellence. Question 3, if it doesn't work, will I get my money back? Pro-Arginine Plus is guaranteed to work. They provide a 120-day money-back guarantee. So I put it to the test. And as I've shared, it has made a huge difference in my overall cardiovascular health. So how about you or someone you love? Would you like to transform your life? Here's how. Intend to live life on purpose with a 2-minute daily discipline. Make it a routine. Make it a lifestyle. 1, order the first 120-day supply of Pro-Arginine Plus. 2, take it every day to harness the benefits of nitric oxide. 3, enjoy the experience and embrace better health as you grow old young. And then he has a final slide with a call to action. Not only do you improve your cardiovascular system, but you also work out like I do. It will improve your athletic performance. So that line is, again, coming back up here. So before I go into what he's got for his script, originally David wanted to do video 4 outside the hospital. And I cautioned him against that because he would then associate Pro-Arginine Plus with keeping people from going to the hospital. And I believe that he would most likely end up getting himself into trouble with Synergy Worldwide, where they would ask him to take down that video. So rather than associate Pro-Arginine Plus with keeping people out of the hospital, which would be kind of like a medical claim, I suggested a different location. David thought, well, why don't I do this outside the gym? And I said, okay, that would be good. And that's why we added this last line here, where it says, not only do you improve your cardiovascular system, but if you work out like I do, it will improve your athletic performance, which means that if his audience are anyone that are actually working out, now this gives them an additional reason for using Pro-Arginine Plus because it can improve their athletic performance. Going back up here in his script, again, he's telling people, final short video, nitric oxide therapy, how he's used this 2-minute daily discipline to improve his cardiovascular health, wanting to share the first steps, but he also makes a confession. I was very skeptical about any natural product. So he's dealing with a potential problem that a lot of people have. Okay, I'm skeptical about natural products because, my doctor tells me they don't work, or, whatever it might be. So he addresses skepticism and he lets people know what he did. And he had 3 very important questions, which are the 3 most important questions that a lot of people have. So what does he do? He gives a voice to those questions. And again, when you ask a question, the mind demands an answer. So first question, is the product recognized by the medical community? That's a big thing that people want to know. What would my doctor think about this? So he doesn't talk in terms of the doctor, but he does talk about the physician's desk reference, which is what doctors use. For 6 consecutive years, highest quality L-arginine supplement in the world. And David, when I read this, I add the quote. I say, quote, highest quality L-arginine supplement in the world, end of quote. If I was doing this and reading this, I would say the quote, end of quote, because then people understand that you're not saying it, but the physician's desk reference. All you're doing is quoting that. And then he introduces the product Pro-Arginine Plus from Synergy Worldwide. Question 2, how is the product made and who makes it? Hey, we live in a world where a lot of our products are made in other countries. And because of that, there's questions about getting supply into here and other things. So David has identified that ProAction Plus is manufactured here in the United States by Nature Sunshine Products. I said NSP. In the video, we should say Nature Sunshine Products, which I'm sure David would say, and distributed by Synergy Worldwide. And then again, he validates both of those companies with US and international awards for quality controls and commitment to excellence. And then the last question, if it doesn't work, will I get my money back? People have spent a lot of money on a lot of products that haven't worked and they've not gotten their money back. So what about this one? Well, ProAction Plus is guaranteed to work. They provide a 120-day money-back guarantee. So I put it to the test. You know, he's letting people know that I had these 3 questions. The product seems to answer those questions. I put it to the test. And as I've shared, it made a huge difference in my overall health. And now he asked some questions. So how would you or someone you, so how about you or someone you love, would you like to transform your life? Here's how. And then again, he gives people the way for them to implement their 2-minute daily discipline. Order your first 120-day supply. Take it every day to harness the benefits of nitric oxide. Enjoy the experience and embrace better health as you grow old young. And then he's got his call to action, which will give information on how people can order the product or call him directly. And then his closing line, again, because he's outside of the gym. Now, okay, not only does it improve your cardiovascular system, but if you work out like I do, it will improve your athletic performance. David, anything you want to share before we
No, the only thing, Dan, is that, you know, you've said everything very, very well. I just to expand on it, where it says final slide call to action, you know, that's not included there, but certainly it will be. You know, there's links below where you can order ProArginine Plus. Follow the link below, follow the instructions, and that's where I would be closing, just to give them all the information they need just to take the first steps. And of course, the 3 questions were key, but the last one where it says, if it doesn't work, will I get my money back? All these questions and all of the issues I bring up, it's because in sales, you are closing all the time. And as you bring up the questions that people will typically ask you in the presentation itself, you are basically overcoming the objections that they may present. So as the slide goes on, or as the story goes on, they're pretty much at a point where saying, well, everything I thought about has been answered. I've got nothing to lose. What do I do? So in the final slide where it says call to action, I'll be putting up a slide where saying, you know, just press the links below. Let's get started. Take your first 3 steps and change your life. You know, so that's the emotional push I'd like to present in the video to have them take some action.
Great. Thank you, David.
Sure.
And again, the bulk of this script was written by David. All I did was just make some suggestions to him. And so, Donald, if you can unmute yourself, you know, we talked that prior to today's session starting, I want to share with you how you have a story in a location that is a perfect blend for telling your story. Donald, are you on the line?
I am online, Dan.
Okay.
Thanks.
So Donald, so just a brief refresher for what you shared with me. Let me know if I've got everything accurate, that you have the ability to be involved in a golf tournament in Barbados, where you're located right now. And back in 2006, you used to play golf, but you could no longer play golf because anytime that you walked, you had intense pain in your legs.
That's correct.
And you discovered that you had peripheral arterial disease, and your doctor recommended that you use L-arginine to help you increase your nitric oxide levels to improve your circulation. And that helped you somewhat, but when you discovered ProArginine Plus, you saw tremendous benefits and improvements to the point where you could now walk without pain. Am I correct on that?
You're very correct. In fact, Dan, I had lost my health insurance. So therefore, I wasn't getting the doctor's prescription I've lost the doctor's prescription for L-arginine. So I wanted to find the L-arginine in a supplement. And that's when I went online and saw the product L-arginine. And it led me to a couple of L-arginines, because at that time, there was a whole lot of chatter about L-arginine. And this is what then led me to Synergy's Pro-arginine Plus.
Okay, so I understand that, Donald, and don't take this offensively.
I
But
wouldn't.
what you just shared with me are facts, and facts tell, but they're not going to do anything to move people to make a decision.
Okay.
So what you need to do is you need to share your story. And my suggestion to you is I'll work with you like I did with David, but you need to write your story out, because you only have about 2 minutes to make a presentation in the environment that you're going to be in. And so here's my suggestion to you. Again, this is being recorded, so you'll have this. And let's say, Donald, I'm Donald Clark, and you're Dan Hammer, and you come up to me, and we engage in conversation, and I would say something to this effect. Well, Dan, I used to play golf a lot, and in 2006, I couldn't play anymore because anytime that I walked on the course, I had intense pain in my legs. I was diagnosed with peripheral arterial disease. My doctor suggested that I use L-arginine to harness the benefits of nitric oxide therapy to improve the blood flow to my legs. So I did what my doctor told me to do, and it helped. But I discovered another product that was recognized by the medical community called Pro-arginine Plus from Synergy Worldwide. And I used that product, and I got even better results. In fact, I'm able to walk the golf course again. It was a huge improvement in my life. And if you're interested in how you can improve your circulation so that you can enjoy the game of golf even better, hey, let's talk. And I can share with you how this nitric oxide therapy could really be a blessing to your golf game.
Excellent, Dan. In fact, I would be, including my age, I was in my mid-60s then, and I'm now, I would be 74 in 2 months' time. So then I thought that I had to give up the game that I'd come to love. I can play again. So that's the area I'll go with you on.
Yeah, and what you shared with regard to your age has value. And so again, what I did is I gave you like a first script.
Sure.
And that first script is just a starting point to be able to create a narrative and create a 2 to 3 minute narrative that, again, in my mid 60s, I was playing golf until one day when I was walking, I just pain. And every time I played golf, I would get intense pain in my legs. I couldn't play anymore. Forced me to go see the doctor, diagnosed with peripheral arterial disease. He recommended that I use L-arginine as a supplement to increase nitric oxide. I'd never heard of nitric oxide, but this is Nobel Prize winning information. It improved my blood flow, but I stumbled across another product called Pro-arginine Plus that is a nitric oxide supplement that when I used that product, I got even better results because that product is recognized by the medical community as the best L-arginine supplement in the world. And I'm now in my mid 70s. Just think about this. If I had not gone to the doctor, and if he had not shared with me nitric oxide therapy, I wouldn't be standing here today. I would most likely be in a wheelchair. But because the doctor understood the power of nitric oxide therapy to address my peripheral arterial disease, and in my discovery of a product that's even better at creating nitric oxide, you can see I'm standing here. I can walk this course. I couldn't have done that. I'm in my mid 70s now, and I couldn't have done that in my mid 60s because the pain would have been too intense.
The only thing I would substitute, Dan, is just from doctor to cardiologist, because
that's fine.
Yeah.
So again, understand, just this is a collaborative process. And again, I don't have anything written down. You're going to have to take this, listen to, you listen to the recording, type it out and then work on it. And it's got to be your voice, Donald. And then you can share it with me, and then I can give you any, tips that I might suggest to you. And then you have to decide whether those work for you or not.
I certainly would, Dan.
Okay. Does that help?
Yeah, it certainly did. And I would be getting back to you with this.
Okay.
Certainly by the end, close to the end of the week, by next week, by Saturday, should have something in your hands.
All right. Sounds great.
Dan, if I may comment on David's, a part of David's story. He talked about nitric oxide, and in the discovery, since he's talking about discovery is L-arginine and L-citrulline. So if we're talking nitric oxide, I would suggest to David, where he just have L-arginine, just add L-citrulline, because the combination is what's nitric oxide, and not just L-arginine. There's so many. There's L-arginine in tablet form that does nothing, and Dr. Ignaro said that pretty much in his book.
So Donald, I don't want to cut you short on this, but you're adding facts, and facts tell, stories sell. So, and if you go back to the original Nobel Prize, it had nothing to do with L-citrulline. It had everything to do with L-arginine. L-citrulline was not involved in the Nobel Prize winning information. It was L-arginine. Now, since that discovery, yes, L-citrulline came to play because people understood how L-citrulline is changed in the liver to L-arginine, and then can be used by the enzymes of the endothelium that are in your vascular system to be able to, again, improve nitric oxide production over even a longer period of time. But those are all facts, and that's not going to, all you're going to do is bog people down with additional facts where you've lost your narrative and you lost your storytelling. Because again, anything that you add to your story, you've got to decide, does it move your story forward, or does it cause another rabbit trail that people's minds can go down that keep you from them actually, being engaged in the story and wanting to get what you've got? I mean, once a person gets on that product, ProArginine Plus, you can talk about the other ingredients, why it's better. You can then share with them, hey, now that you're using ProArginine Plus, there's other ingredients in here that if you're interested, I can help you understand why they help you produce more nitric oxide. So it's a question that you ask a person, and if they're interested, you can share the information. If they're not interested, they don't care. All they care about is that, hey, it's working and I feel better and I'm going to continue to use it. So some people don't care about the details, other people do. And so for the ones that care about details, you share the details. For ones that don't care about it, you don't share it, because all you do is, it just becomes information that they don't care about, and you just end up beginning to, cause them to create distance, because, I just don't want you sharing all this information with me because I don't care. You care, but it's not what you care, it's what that individual cares about. That's how you have to answer their questions or share additional information based upon where they're coming from, not what you think they should know. And again, I don't want to be offensive in this, but it's something that someone had to tell me, because I used to do what you're doing. I used to share all this additional information, and it's like information overload. And someone finally got through my head to say, Dan, you know, you're great with telling facts, but you suck at telling stories. And if you learn how to share stories, then you're going to find that you can get more people on the product and make a bigger difference in their health.
Thank you, Dan. I'm glad I brought this up so that you can straighten me out on this. I appreciate it, and that even helps to sharpen my focus. I appreciate it. And
You're welcome.
no offense at all. It's never an offense when we talk.
Thank you.
Dan, if I could say something briefly to that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, you're right on about that, and we are all going through a process in our journey through I'd say through network marketing or sales. And you're absolutely right. At first, what happened to me is I was very excited about what I discovered, and I read Dr. Gnarl's book, and I look at the videos, and every time somebody would ask me, I would throw up all over them, you know, with all the facts and figures and, you know, statistics and the science, and they would look at me and they were nod their head, but certainly they're just looking through me, not at me, and they're wondering, when am I going to stop? So,
Right.
You know, the purpose of this video is just to get them emotionally connected so that they can learn more and change their life. So you're right on, Dan, in terms of storytelling.
Thanks, David. Thank you, everyone. Any final questions or comments before we say goodbye? All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you next
everybody.
Saturday. You're welcome.
Great job. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone.
Name.